The date, November 23rd, 1997. The event, WCW World War III. This is the night when Scott Hall would reign victorious, earning himself a shot at the WCW World Heavyweight title. 60 men, 3 rings, 1 winner. You do the math. That was the odds the competitors were facing at the 1997 WCW World War III pay-per-view event that took place at the Palace of Auburn Hills in Michigan. Did I say 60 men? Well, I meant 59. The WCW annual event of World War III would usually be 60 men, but on this night we only had 59. So where was the 60th man in the Battle Royal, you may ask? Well, the 60th man was Kevin Nash, but guess what? He didn't show up. It was assumed the big man was out with an injury, and that was that. We wouldn't be seeing Kevin Nash on this night. But a little more on that later on. So the 60 Warriors marched their way out onto the ring, with the winner getting a shot at the WCW World Heavyweight title. The current champion at that time in WCW was of course Hollywood Hogan, and he had his big match booked with Sting the following month in December. That would be of course at Starrcade 1997. So there were so many permutations going on with this one. What if an NWO member won, for example, and Hollywood Hogan defeated Sting? That means we would have an NWO guy versus an NWO guy for the world title. If DDP, Lex Luger or the Giant won, for example, and Sting defeated Hollywood Hogan at Starrcade, then we would have 2 big name WCW guys going at it for the world title. So many possibilities. Or let's say Al Dandy fluked to win, for example. We could have Al Dandy facing either Sting or Hollywood Hogan. Let's just forget I said that. But seriously, this thing was loaded. You got 3 rings, 60 men as I said before, so 20 men in each ring. Basically, you battle it down to you got 5 men left in each ring, and then those 15 men go into one separate ring and you finish off the event. That's how it works. Those are the official rules. So as mentioned before, Kevin Nash was not here on this night, but his NWO buddies were sticking close together as they came out with their own separate entrance after all the WCW guys had entered. So the 3 rings were loaded and it was time to get underway. And this thing started off at a great pace. We had the Giant throwing out people left and right from ring number 3, while the NWO stayed as a tight-knit group in ring number 1, helping each other out and watching each other's backs. A strategy that worked really well for them. So the war raged on as bodies were getting thrown left, right and centre. Wrestlers like Rey Mysterio literally clinging on for his livelihood and a shot at the world title. And since we're mentioning Rey Mysterio, we may as well throw this in as well. Things were getting so hectic out there that commentator Mike Tenay totally lost count of the rings.
Rey Mysterio just eliminated someone from ring 6. I'm not sure who it was.
It was all going on at World War III. But as things started to narrow down, we saw the Giant take control of ring number 3 all by himself. In fact, it came down to a one-on-one showdown between the Giant and Ming. The Giant is one guy you would not want to mess with, but Ming also, you wouldn't want to mess with him either. And these two stood face to face, one-on-one to see who would be the king, the sole survivor of ring number 3 at least. The 2 behemoths went back and forth, but it was the Giant who delivered a drop kick to Ming, sending him over the top rope, leaving the Giant as the sole survivor of ring number 3. Now, as we mentioned before, the official rules to World War III are you have 5 men left in each ring, but those rules did not seem to apply on this night. For some reason, they were thrown out the window and we got what we got. So at the point where all the wrestlers were set to come into one ring and finish off World War III, we had this. All 5 members of the NWO still in ring number 1. They watched each other's backs, they did it well, no one from the NWO had been eliminated. We had 4 WCW guys left in ring number 2, Booker T, DDP, Rick Steiner and Lex Luger. And of course you add to those 4 guys the Giant, then you have 5 WCW guys versus those 5 NWO guys. and all the competitors were set to finish World War III in ring number 2. But the NWO didn't want to do that. They wanted everybody to come into their ring, and they did. The remaining WCW competitors stormed the NWO's ring, and the final 10 men left in World War III got it on. And interestingly enough, the winners from the first 2 World War III events were still left. Randy Savage, who won the very first World War III in 95, and the Giant, who had won World War III in 96. So it was one of these 10 men who would be going on to get a shot at the WCW World Heavyweight title. Competitors dropped away until we got down to the final 4, Scott Hall and Randy Savage, both representing the NWO, and we had DDP and the Giant, of course, from WCW. Randy Savage was next to go, who fell to not only a diamond cutter but a choke slam, and they just rolled him out. He was done, leaving Scott Hall the sole NWO survivor to go against the 2 WCW guys. Not quite. No, the NWO had a trick up their sleeve. Surprise, surprise. It was at this moment that Hollywood Hogan's music hit, and the crowd were loving it. No one was expecting this. Hogan entered himself into the Battle Royal as a surprise entrant, and of all things he picked up the Giant and he slammed him. Going back to memories of days when he slammed Andre at WrestleMania 3. The odds, it seemed, were back in the NWO's favour. But just as the Giant picked up Hall and Hogan in a massive bear hug, Sting came down from the rafters. Alright, Sting was here to put the balance back in the favour of WCW. Not quite. At this point, DDP was thrown out, Hogan eliminated himself, and this masked man who looked like Sting knocked the Giant out of the ring, leaving Scott Hall as your winner. But who was this masked man? Was it really Sting? Well, everybody was having their doubts by now. And no guys, of course it wasn't Sting, it was Scott Hall's NWO outsider buddy, Mr. Kevin Nash. He had come down and single-handedly helped Scott Hall win the World War III Battle Royal, in one of the greatest and most memorable tricks that the NWO would ever pull. Nash had helped his buddy get a shot at the WCW World Heavyweight title. Afterwards, the NWO continued to put their boots into DDP, as it seemed their favourite pastime at that point in time, and celebrated in the ring, relishing in the NWO victory. So guys, this one really does go down in history. It was a pretty cool battle royal, an absolute awesome ending to it. I remember watching this one live with all my buddies, and we were just totally surprised and amazed when Hogan came out. The whole Nash thing at the end, it was a totally cool end to this pay-per-view. Totally took you by surprise. So many twists and turns in this one. Whoever came up with the idea to book the end of this battle royal this way, well done. Took everybody by surprise. And did Scott Hall get a shot at the World Heavyweight title? Well, he did. It was scheduled to be in Super Brawl, but of course with the whole debacle that went on with Sting and Hogan at Starrcade, those two had to have a rematch at Super Brawl. So Scott Hall did get a shot at the title. It was against Sting at Uncensored in March of 1998, just a few months later. So there you go guys, that is the story of WCW World War III 1997. A whole ton of drama, a whole ton of twists and turns. If you've never checked it out, it's on the WWE Network. Go and have a look at it. Very enjoyable indeed. WCW's answer to the Royal Rumble. And it was a pretty cool idea for an event if you ask me too. You had the 3 rings set up, the massive humanity in there. The whole thing just looked really cool. I mean, you just hadn't really seen anything like that in professional wrestling before. It was just cool, the 3 ring setup, a whole ton of guys in there. It was massive. So there you go guys, be sure to share all your memories from WCW World War III in the comment section below, and we're going to catch you next time here on Stinger Wild. Thanks heaps guys for tuning into the video. Be sure to drop a scorpion death drop on that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome pro wrestling action from the WWE, the WCW and much more.